How are you doing?
Thank you so much for joining and making time, because
Absolute pleasure. Bea Co have saved our lives. So anything you guys want, we're really happy to help. Forever grateful. A friend of mine recommended you while I was doing a theatre job, and it's literally has changed our lives because we really struggled to get childcare that was useful for our family and sort of worked. And this is it's been great, and the way you guys run it and the way you deal with us, and it's fantastic. And I never feel like I have to feel worried about sort of requests that we're putting through, um, because you'd get it, and it's always done with huge love and real ease and no problems, and that's yeah, transformative when you're trying to work as well as bringing up a child and juggling a household and all of that. And so you have nailed this model.
it's so nice to hear, because I think everyone kind of does seem to come to us through kind of personal recommendation. It's such a small world, and same with the creatives as well, so it sort of feels like everybody that's with us on either side sort of knows somebody, and it's a really nice kind of like family feel, so it's always nice to hear that it's
Yeah,
going well. Yeah. So did you, in terms of kind of kids, and did you sort of know that you wanted to be a mum, like, and did you ever kind of have a fear of being able to do that and still be an actor, was kind of going back?
definitely. Yeah, I did know I wanted to be a mum, and I sort of always thought that that was part of my life, until I was sort of in my mid 30s, and then or early mid 30s, and then I started, yeah, maybe mid 30s, and then I started to think maybe I won't, maybe I won't, or maybe that won't happen for me, because it wasn't, it's also about finding someone to have kids with, or so there's that. And then I started looking into the realities of maybe being a single parent and adoption, and I thought, okay, well, I'll I was quite aware that you know I would have to change my life quite drastically for adoption, which was fine. So I was sort of researching that and finding out more about that, and seeing how I could change things in my career or do things that would set me up to later on, um, uh, be sort of more available in that way. And then looking if that was even possible financially, or um, so that was definitely happening. So yeah, so I had a lot of questions about it, and also there was a point where I thought, okay, if it doesn't happen for me, then I have to um, be okay with it. And I think that now it's obviously changed since, and then randomly I met my husband, and quite quickly we became pregnant. But and now I feel a bit differently. But at the time, I definitely was in the category of work is really full on and it takes precedence. And how do you juggle that? How do you go off and film in Guatemala and bring a child? And on the one hand I'd be like, oh, it's easy, and on the other hand I'd be like, you know and now it's sort of funny, because now I know that you can do it. You How do you do it? You just do it. um but all the things that I thought might make it easier, like nannies or help, I've realized that that is actually the hard part. And um, so the going is easy, and you can absolutely do it. It's just sort of like working out the logistics, that not only the logistics, but the logistics that make you feel emotionally okay. Because that's the big thing, I think, with sort of, I'm going off piece here a bit, but I think with childcare, there's it's not just about looking after your child. Obviously that's primary, that your child is safe and happy and being looked after well, but also that you're helped to feel like you're in still, that you're still an okay parent.
Yeah.
That's a really big part of it that's kind of forgotten. And I didn't obviously had no clue about that before I became a parent myself. Um, so well, a big part of it for me anyway. But I think for many. Um, so
I
uh,
think childcare is not often talked about as well. I saw somebody saying, I can't remember what it was on the other day. It was on something on social media, but they were just sort of saying, actually, sometimes what's put out is sort of working parents, but not the childcare side, as if you can juggle absolutely everything. And they were sort of saying, actually, I do have childcare sometimes, and that's okay, because I want to work and I want to have childcare, and it's the childcare that's right for me. And I did think, yeah, actually, you don't often hear people talking about the childcare side of it, actually, like whether they have to, in order to, because it's then quite an enormous pressure on kind of mums to be, or thinking, well, how am I going to do it? Because seemingly nobody has any any help almost, or yeah.
No, I mean, I'm really lucky. Me and my husband made changes, but it wasn't until my son was about 9 months old that we did make changes whereby he takes on the brunt of childcare when I'm working. So he does that. So um, and still today, yes, there are a lot of dads who take on a lot of childcare responsibility, but I still find it rare to find a dad who takes on as much as my husband does. Um, that yeah, it's still rare. So it's usually the mums. So you'll find, like, you go to a swimming lesson and it's mainly mothers, maybe one or two dads there, um, or the park, or whatever it might be. Um, so I mean, but we know this. We know that the balance in our society about between work and care, whether that be care for our children or our elderly, or um, that that's seen as secondary. And we
Yeah,
know it's seen as secondary, and also it's seen often, and still, even though it is changing and we're evolving, it's still seen as a sort of female driven thing. But those
definitely.
are hours of unpaid work, and it is work. But the other thing as well, when you're a parent, of course, even if you do have help, um, you are still managing that help. You're managing that help. You're employing someone. You are responsible for that employee's welfare,
Yeah.
mental, physical, um, and that's on top of juggling your job, your child's welfare, your partner's welfare. So it's a lot of juggling, which is why, again, I say, Being Co provided an incredible structure for us, because what we needed, we didn't need sort of full days often of childcare. We needed a few hours here and there, so that my husband and I could work, or do other things, or just, if my husband was doing full on childcare, just have a break to be able to have a coffee, or or a
Important. Yeah.
shower, or clean, or cook lunch, or whatever it might be. And it's sort of saved our family to be able to have that. And the setup of Being Co is such that we don't have to be as responsible as when you have a live-in nanny, or nanny who comes every day, who's the same person, or you're the direct employer. You're essentially paying for a service, and everyone understands. And I think there's something lovely about the fact that all the Being Co workers that we've had come along, they're all actors, entertainers, or directors, or writers, and that's their main focus, and we completely understand that that's the fact. And so when they come, they are just helping us, and they get what we're going through. We get what they are going through. And it's this understood thing that for a few hours they're just coming and helping, and all they have to do is play with our boy, nothing else. Just make sure he's having a good time and having fun, and being safe. And that's transformative. Transformative. Because I found that a couple of times, just especially when we've been away on jobs, it's been really difficult to get childcare that was um um that worked for us. If you find something that clicks, then that's great, but so many families don't. I think the fact that there are organizations like Being Co, it helps you being a, a working mum in this industry. It changes, it's changed things for me dramatically. It means it's made it possible at times when, without it would have been really, really hard. But that exists. I know you were talking about what other things, uh, have are things changing in our industry in terms of being
Yeah.
mindful of
Have you
parent.
Yeah, have you found that kind of changes are happening to support, especially because I think it's hard. I mean, I've not got kids of my own yet, but from what I see around me, it's harder, and sort of looking to make that step in the future for myself and my husband, it feels harder being the female out of the pair, because, for example, like if you're pregnant, that affects
Mhm.
castings that you can go for, and also if you're able to work later in it. But I mean, I don't know if you worked while you were pregnant or not, or whether you.
Um, I was about to do a play when I fell pregnant, and I had 3 months morning sickness, so I had to like call up and say I can't. It was awful, and then the by the third month, it was really clear that something wasn't good. Like something was really quite off, and then I was diagnosed with perinatal depression and anxiety, which sort of came in waves through the pregnancy. So I did an audiobook while I was pregnant. So that was great because it meant, I had a job and some income. But no, that was it. And so for the first time in many years, suddenly work just stopped,
Yeah.
totally stopped. So and for anyone, of course, there's like an identity sort of questioning within that. And I suppose that the thing would sort of say is just time. Things can change, like I say, when he was by the time he was 3 months, I was working again. That's not the case for everyone, but within a year of your child being born, you will have got yourself together, whether you've had a great pregnancy and a great birth and a great, first year of mothering, or you've had a really hard one or a tricky one. Things will change and they move and they evolve, and whether it takes a year or whatever, it's possible. um and I think whatever solution you come up with, it's always going to be hard, so because there's so many things at play. There's emotional, there's physical. You're tired, you're really tired. That affects you a lot. It's funny, but um and it's a big change to your life. So just be kind to yourself, and it will be, and you will always find a solution. There is always a solution. That's the thing. There's always a solution. You might just not see it yet. um and uh
Have you found companies have started to help to make it easier in any way? Because we're really lucky. We partner with some theatre companies that do sort of subsidize childcare to allow from the
yeah,
actors the backstage. And I'm definitely sort of, it's quite lucky sort of sitting on this side of Bea Co, I get to see that happening, which is really nice. But have you kind
yeah.
of felt it in the industry as well, people wanting you to be able to work, wanting to help you to do that?
Yeah, yes, I have, and I've definitely felt there's an attitude shift that I felt, which is great, because the attitude is, as opposed to punishing parents, sort of finding ways to support them is great, and not seeing it as like, got a kid, it's like,
Yeah.
don't do that. It's really not helpful. People will procreate. That's just, it's
Yeah.
going to happen. And also, the more the more we look after everyone in our society, just the better.
Yeah,
Um,
I think there is that fear though. I definitely feel, having spoken to people, there's a fear of, if you want to have kids, you're seen as not caring about your job enough, or like at the
It's a
moment that
load of
you have
rubbish.
it, you fear that people are going to say, well, oh, you
Yeah.
need to take time out then, because that's obviously your priorities are different.
Yes, and but I think there are enough examples of where that attitude has been quite prevalent for people to legitimately have that fear,
Yeah.
and I do feel that that attitude is changing, and whether it's genuine from whoever it might be coming from, or whether it's just a fear of sitting on the wrong side of history, given the way sort of um, sort of discourse is going right now. It doesn't matter. It's great. It's a great attitude that it's shifting. You can still be outrageously productive and on time, know your lines, and not be a dick while being a parent. The only thing you need is just a little bit of support, and either you sort that out yourself, which is what people have been doing forever and ever and ever, and it's been fine. Um, but what it's lovely when you feel that productions are supporting parents. So what I found that the attitudes have been changing. So I've found a lot of producers that I'm working with are really way more supportive and helpful when I mention childcare issues, or and understanding, and happy to shift things around a little bit for me without making me feel bad and feel judged. that's amazing. That's, so that's, what I mean by that is, like, as opposed to taking a car the night before, I might take it in the morning, or as opposed to taking a car in the afternoon, I might take it after bedtime, or, something, um,
Yeah, it makes a difference, I'm sure.
massive difference.
Yeah.
But I think also that that needs to trickle down to, everyone working in the industry. So that our lighting technicians, or our, camera department, and I'm not sure that that's happening yet. I am seeing examples of job shares, for example, which I think is fantastic, and that not being a weird thing. And the more it happens, the less weird it is going to be. Um, I am. I also think, the whole idea of having, partnering up, like with like you guys, like Bea Co, and creating that sort of support for anyone working on a set, or in theatre, is vital, and absolutely should be across the board. I think creches should be, because it's not such a huge expense. It's just not, and, for anyone. Um, it could be really, it won't help everyone, because obviously your childcare needs they're so specific to your child and your setup, and sometimes it's not going to be helpful, but for some it's going to be revolutionary. It's going to be the difference between somebody not seeing their child at all for the first 3 months of their life, or seeing their child regularly.
Yeah.
That, you can't, you can't put a price on that. You can't. And the idea that you don't work as well is rubbish. At 3 months, I've never worked as hard, and, I worked hard. But I'm not sort of blowing my own trumpet, but, me and the crew worked harder than all of the other actors. I was doing it in 2 languages, and I was the one who had a 3-month-old baby, and I directed sections of it, and, you know,
Yeah, more than capable to be
totally,
working.
and I
And
loved it, and it didn't feel bad. It didn't feel like, oh God, it felt great. I felt creative, and it was wonderful. And I could only have done it had I, with the support of production. Um, but it's not where it should be. It's not where it should be. Is what, is my feeling. I think attitudes are changing, but it's not where it should be. And I watch constantly. And people say it's the name of the game. We're away from our families for a long time. Um, but I definitely think we can do things to make it easier, so that people don't have to be away for that long. And especially when it's such an easy proposition. If it was very difficult, very complicated, and very expensive, then sure, but it's not, because that expense can actually be shared. And and yeah, what a way, way to lead the way. The other thing I would say as well, I think it is a responsibility for anyone who can, to lead the way. Like, I have a director friend whose family's with him when he's filming, and and I I think that's great, because he's putting a signal out to everyone, saying, um, I work, and I do good work, but I have a family, as opposed to it being always, a female who has to do that. I think it's really important, and he's in a position where he can do that. He's in a position where he can sit in and edit and say, do you know what, we're going to edit, but once a week, everyone in the room, we're going to go home early, so we do bedtime. Even if it's just once a week, and then it can add to more, but it has to be led from the front. It cannot, it can't, our sort of, um, our caterer can't do that. Our AD can't do that. It has to be those who can, who should, and they should.
it normalizes it, doesn't it? I think
Yeah,
definitely with Bea Co families that we've got, it's not on all sides. I think it's nice for families joining us, knowing that there are other families in similar situations who are making
yeah,
it work. It's nice for creatives and us to see that it's possible to make it
yeah,
work, and it is kind of normalizing it, that is actually okay and doable,
yeah,
and that people can really succeed in it as well.
yes,
um,
yeah. Does it
I
make you feel more confident about having kids, seeing those changes?
It has massively, working for Bea Co. I think because I started off with Bea Co on the creative side years ago, and actually met my goddaughter. She was flower girl at our wedding.
Oh
And I sort
no.
of, she's so gorgeous, and like we've become so close to the family that I was working for. But I think when I first started, I don't know, sitting on this side, I think the work I've done for them behind the scenes and kind of matchmaking and things like that, it's just sort of speaking to lots of different families that are making it work is amazing, because it is that scary step of, when do you take the time out of work to do it, and will you be penalized for it, or yeah, it's definitely positive to see. I think it's made me feel better about it when we're ready for it. Yeah.
I mean, I am seeing a lot of people really advocating for young mums and coming back and making it. You know, I mentioned Morgan Lloyd Malcolm before, but she's incredible at always making sure that her rehearsal rooms and her plays are family friendly, and um, and that sort of attitude I see spreading around a lot. And actually, what's sort of more and more frowned upon is somebody who doesn't support that. Like,
Yeah, I
oh,
think
you're going
as
to
well.
penalize a young mum? Oh yeah, good. Yeah, that's good luck. So
Yeah,
I feel that that's happening too.
I think definitely it feels like there's some way to go still, but it's nice to see it happening and starting to change. I was going to ask, I mean, we've probably covered it really, but I guess the last question would be if you had any advice to people in the performance industry, but also kind of freelancers that have more unusual hours, unusual jobs, self-employed, that want to be a parent but are kind of nervous of that. Would you have any advice to them? I mean, we've covered mostly, but
I suppose the thing is that, like I say, like you can make anything work, and families, all families are different, and um, I think with a kid, what you do is that you work out what works for you as a family and for you as a parent, and what works for your kid. And sometimes your kid will dictate what's going to work. And then you have to be prepared to sort of make those changes. But a lot of the times, kids they adapt to you, and what ticks and is beneficial for your family, and that's okay. It doesn't have to look like everyone else's. As long as kids are safe and well and fed and loved, and it's okay. Um um and it, and just yeah, it just have I think just have that flexibility about it, that it's all right, and you can, it's hard work, but you can make things, work, and you don't have to be like everybody else. And what I would also say is, like, do not read a bloody child rearing book. Throw them at a freaking wall. I mean, the amount of oh BS I have read, and when you're at your most vulnerable and you're like, I don't know anything, and then, like, only like now afterwards, I'm like, that is a load of rubbish. And I was like desperately trying to incorporate some weirdos' ideas. Yeah, like, uh, everything is possible. Children have been raised in all different kinds of ways, and it's possible. And as long as you sort of feel you can be flexible enough yourself to sort of incorporate and the needs of your child are really obvious. They will be really obvious, and every child is different. I mean, there's some basic things that we all know, but then your child will give you signals about if it's not feeling okay or if it is feeling okay, and you just adapt to that. Um, and everything is possible. Everything is possible. It's okay. And just, yeah, be really kind to yourself. Really kind. And it's doable. And be ruthless about having lovely people around you. Be ruthless. Like, that's being kind to yourself as well. That's
yeah.
so, because I think, some people have great support systems already in terms of family, but a lot of people don't. So it's really important that, you know y- and we need those support systems. We need them so bad, so bad. And be ruthless about them. And it's good to be, and it's all right, and yeah, everything is doable if if that's something that you want to do. um it's possible. And I know friends who haven't found it so hard, and others who have. And I found things really hard that I sometimes go, God, nobody else seems to find this hard, but I've found it really, really hard. And that's okay. We're all different. We will find different things hard, and that's fine. That's no sort of judgment on us. It's just how we deal with it is the most important thing. That'd be my long-winded advice.
Oh, it's good advice.
Go
Well,
for it. Live your best life.
what's your best piece of advice someone gave to you when you were becoming a parent? Actually, I meant to ask that as well as a final.
One of the best, I was talking to my husband about this. I think one of the best things was, you can put yourself in their shoes, but they can't put themselves in yours. So just, it's a good thing to remember, just to sort of, when you're feeling, just to sort of be able to dig deep for that extra bit of patience that you need at times, that, um, just to guide them, and guide yourself, really, and guide your expectations.
It's a really good piece of advice. I've not heard that one before, but it's so true. They're still learning every step of the way, aren't they? But so are we with everything, I think, aren't we? So
And that's fine. We don't have to know it all, but like, we can just figure it out. Again, it's that red flag thing. If it's not feeling right, then something probably isn't right. And it's be ruthless about investigating that for yourself, and for your kid. And yeah, and don't be too hard on yourself. Like, yeah, be kind. I'm just telling myself that. Don't be too hard on yourself.
everyone's definitely, this past year, I think it's been a real message, hasn't it, to be kinder. I think a lot of people have gone on a bit of a journey of really listening to that kind of advice this past year,
Yeah.
when everything's sort of been thrown out of place a bit, that's kind of really a priority. So it's definitely good advice to kind of drill in. Yeah,
Exactly. Be kind. That's the thing. Rebecca, it's been
I'll let you go. Thank you.